I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that he is cutting U.S. funding to the World Health Organization, accusing the organization of conspiring with the government of China to suppress important information related to the coronavirus pandemic.
Through the middle of January, it parroted and publicly endorsed the idea that there was not human-to-human transmission happening, despite reports and clear evidence to the contrary. The delays the WHO experienced in declaring a public health emergency cost valuable time.
This decision and previous statements by President Trump regarding China and the World Health Organization has been widely criticized around the world. Many have argued that the United States is essentially politicizing the World Health Organization, WHO, the organization that does so much vital and important humanitarian work, at a very moment when their work is really needed. And it has been warned by leaders of the World Health Organization that this decision could result in body bags. Deaths could come about as a result of Donald Trump's decision.
Please don't politicize this virus. It exploits the differences you have at the national level. If you want to be exploited, and if you want to have many more body bags, then you do it.
Now, it's also important to note that Republicans in the U.S. Congress have announced they plan a congressional probe, a hearing, to investigate China for its role and possible culpability in this spread of coronavirus. So it seems that from the Trump administration and Republicans, there is a strong feeling that China is somehow responsible for the global pandemic, and that World Health Organization and many international bodies may have cooperated with them in causing this kind of problem. Now, critics are pointing to this and saying this is a massive conspiracy theory. This is an attempt to distract from the failures of the United States when it comes to dealing with this pandemic. But many of the voices on the Republican side of the aisle and surrounding the Trump administration are adamant that China is to blame and that the World Health Organization needs to be held accountable. Now, the World Health Organization and Beijing officials have released a timeline providing step-by-step information about how the pandemic was dealt with from December onward, showing coordination and cooperation between Chinese officials and international bodies. They say this narrative of a Chinese cover-up with which the World Health Organization is allegedly complicit simply doesn't add up.
Let's get the thoughts from Joseph Cheng, Hong Kong-based political scientist with us live. Morning to you. Hope you're good. So, right, we're in the middle of this global pandemic, huge problems everywhere. In the middle of it, Donald Trump's now gunning for the WHO. Whether or not it's a good time or not to do it, does he have a point?
Well, he has a point in the sense that his position reflects controversies at three levels. In the first level, you have some kind of ideological competition. Chinese leaders are claiming that the successful combat of the epidemic has well demonstrated the superiority of the systems in China. This is, of course, denied by certain Western countries, and there are Western political leaders accusing China of a cover-up, at least, and of not informing the international community promptly. Then at the second level, you have the competition for influence at international organizations like the WHO. The WHO is now seen by President Donald Trump as favoring the Chinese authorities. Then you have, at the lower level, you have the usual competition among political leaders. They all tend to claim that they have been doing well in the combat of the epidemic, and they, to some extent, are ready to shift the blame on various parties. The WHO has been involved in these controversies all at three levels.
Yeah, President Trump, we saw that spat between him and that journalist, where the journalist was asking, well, what did you do for all of February? And we saw what played out there. Is Donald Trump in any way, by doing this, looking to deflect some domestic blame from him and the way he's acted?
To some extent, yes. He is obviously under pressure in terms of public opinion polls. He is falling behind Joseph Biden, the now Democratic candidate for the presidential race. And he is eager to show that he has been doing well, while at the same time, there are controversies between him and the governor of New York and the mayor of New York over who has the final authority in deciding the resumption of economic activities and so on. So there is a tendency, of course, for him to shift the blame onto WHO. And this is his typical position on isolationism and unilateralism. Withdrawing funding for international agencies has been to some extent his hallmark, that he is willing to only to fund international agencies ready to serve American interests. Again, a demonstration of his American first position.
I mean, if these funds are cut to a huge amount of money, that's down end of the day to US Congress. They've got to agree at first. Do you think it is likely to go ahead, or is it Donald Trump at the moment just making waves but not going to go through with it, do you think?
At the moment, it seems that international opinion is all for avoiding unnecessary quarrels over the funding of the WHO, because at this, well, this is more or less still the peak of the epidemic. All parties concerned would like concentration and cooperation to deal with the epidemic. Whatever controversies concerning the role of the WHO, the role of the Director General, and so on, should be discussed or investigated into at a later stage. At the moment, most countries concerned do not want to see a rocking of the boat. They want to see a smooth flow of information exchanges, and to allow the WHO to do a good job in this very, very critical time.
Yeah, indeed. Joseph Cheng, Hong Kong-based political scientist. Thanks for being live on the programme. Take care.
Thank you.